Greetings, this is Ty Brown with AthleticDirectorU, and I'm here with Crystal Lanning. She's the Director of Athletics at University of Wisconsin at River Falls. Greetings, Crystal, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Crystal, your department was honored as a recipient of the 2019 Award for Diversity and Inclusion from the NCAA and the Minority Opportunities Athletics Association. That is a very important honor, right, in terms of athletics and in terms of society. Can you talk to us about what that means to you to win that award?
I think we were a little shocked that we were chosen for this award. First Division III school. There's been a Division III conference that won the award, the inaugural award, but to be the first Division III institution, I think you submit the nomination form, you know you're doing good work, but to be recognized by these two organizations is really special. Now,
of course, the award recognizes institutions that embrace diversity and inclusion. And when you talk about Wisconsin River Falls, right, one of the core values of the institution in its entirety is inclusiveness. And of course, you've been there since 2004. You've been in the AD role since, or leading the athletics department since 2016. So you've been there for the longevity to see this thing evolve, right? Mm-hmm. Can you tell us why the university felt that it was important to include, as one of its core values, inclusiveness? Mm-hmm.
I think as a university, I think back to when I first started at the university. River Falls is in a rural suburb of the Twin Cities. Not much diversity happening on campus at the time. I think within athletics, we try and do our part and look for other pockets of student athletes to join our program. And I think the university was looking for something similar. We saw a lot of similarities across the student body and with the faculty and staff members. And it's important to have a broad perspective, different ideas, different opinions to help move a university forward. And I think the university saw that as something that was important to include people from different groups, get different ideas to help move the university forward. And I think that's where a lot of it stemmed from.
Right, and thinking about that, right, this was 2012, I believe, right, in the vision for the university. How has the university implemented that? How have they gone about making sure that they are executing what they have identified as one of their core values?
Well, I think it starts from our chancellor, and really all that he does, and down into campus leadership and even into the departments. The core values are part of the decision-making process. So campus leadership is constantly reflecting on those core values and how we're going to make decisions to better the university. I think there's been a lot of good decisions about, creating a Center for Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging on campus, a way for students to connect with people, find ways for that department to connect with other departments. They certainly have connected with us. But I think it starts with the chancellor and his vision and making sure that it's a part of our everyday business.
And I'd imagine you create a center like that on campus, you want to make sure that it is the people who are utilizing the center is a diverse community. I mean, you see it in hiring, you see it in students who are participating in things. That's what you've seen since that 2012 initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. And the center was created 2 or 3 years ago, and their leadership has really reached out to different pockets of students that maybe didn't have a home, didn't really have anyone to connect with, and they've been really intentional about finding those pockets of students. On our campus, we're going through a construction project, renovation project to create kind of a student success hub, and the Center for Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging is going to be part of that hub along with a lot of the other services that students need. So they'll be really visible in a great location to service a wide variety of students.
So I guess you consider that a success, what they're doing in terms of that.
For sure.
So you look at that. You've been around since 2004 there. 2016, you're named the interim AD, or lead the department. 17 or 18, you become the permanent athletics director, and you have to come up with your strategic plan, right? And so, in part of your strategic plan, you included inclusiveness. Why did you feel like that was important for you to include it in your strategic plan?
Yep, so I was part of the previous strategic plan for the athletic department, and what I noticed in that original strategic plan, so going from 2012 to 2017, it was kind of about building a base, starting from scratch. And so with this new strategic plan, I wanted to find ways to move us forward. We kind of had the base set, so it was important to move the department forward. With the university having inclusiveness as a core value, I felt it was important to support that. So creating a strategic goal around equity and inclusion, a lot of it is based on development, so the priorities that we've identified within that goal are things we thought we could achieve, things that would better our department and wholly help the university.
All right. Now, in terms of winning this award, I'd imagine it's a little more than just taking a cue from the university. It had to be important to you too, because you didn't want to just mirror what the university was doing, right?
I think we need to look at what were priorities within athletics. A lot of similarities to the university as a whole, but what was important for us, our student athletes, our coaches, and our staff, and so much of it was building a base and finding ways that we could find programs we could implement in the long run, things that would benefit our student athletes, help make them better learners, better educated students moving out into the world after they graduate.
Right. And you mentioned programs you can implement. I think some of the issue a lot of people have with when people talk about diversity or they talk about inclusion or inclusiveness is that people talk about it, right? What are your action items? How have you implemented this? I mean, you're only a year and a half out from the strategic plan or strategic vision of yours. Tell me how you've implemented it to a point to where it was noticed by MOAA and the NCAA where you won this award.
I think it started with having people in our office really taking the leadership on those pieces. We received the Ethnic Minority Women's Internship Grant. With that opportunity, we created a coordinator for diversity, inclusion, student athlete success. So Chantel Flagler in our office has been really leading the charge, along with our assistant athletic director, Kellen Wells-Mangold. And the two of them together have really provide that leadership, and I think that's what has helped us create opportunities for our student athletes, for our staff, for our coaches. And I think something that was important for us is so much of it can be a one and done. You have a program and then it's done. But what was important for us was have a program, but then what's the follow-up? How do you continue the conversation? So a lot of the initiatives we implemented were you have an educational program, but then how do you continue forward? You develop a new policy, but how do you continue forward and make sure that it continually comes up and people are talking about it and not just forgetting about it?
Right. Thinking about that, when you were creating a strategic plan and you decided to include inclusiveness, what was the plan for that specific action item? Like, I mean, obviously you said you wanted to probably apply for that grant to get to position in there. What was your plan, you know, thinking short term, mid-term, long range, in terms of action item on that inclusiveness action item?
Well, I think short-term, number one priority was getting the grant position and having somebody to lead the charge. That was really a number one priority for us, and we were fortunate to receive that opportunity. Other kind of short-term goals, we were in the process of adding new opportunities for our women. We added women's lacrosse as a sport, so looking at gender equity and trying to find more opportunities for our female student athletes. And then I think long-term is when we started thinking about how can we continue the conversation, and a lot of the initiatives that we've implemented are about that. How can we really highlight and help our student athletes become lifelong learners, help our coaches and staff be more welcoming to different ideas.
Thinking about putting it in there, I'd imagine you'd have to come up with a very clear and concise definition of inclusiveness. Can you tell us what that is, maybe on a broad scale for campus, and then when you decided to put it in your plan, is the definition the same, or did you broaden it or make it more efficient? Tell us about your definition.
I think for campus, inclusiveness was looking broadly, ways to bring together groups of people with different ideas and be able to create opportunities to be able to talk about differences. Within athletics, I think we took a lot of the same type of aspects from the university. I think for us it was making sure that all of our student athletes, all of our coaches and staff felt welcome, felt that they had a voice. So really kind of tailoring it to our population, but a lot of similarities between the two.
Has Now I don't know if you're on the committee to evaluate the strategic plan from 2012 for the university, but in terms of evaluation, how does the university feel like they've done in terms of maybe increasing a certain population or the welcoming atmosphere? Like you mentioned, they were building something and including it in there, but in terms of students that may have been a freshman in 2012 and now they've graduated and are alumni, or people who have come in since it has been implemented on the campus level, do you know how they evaluated that in terms of the success of the implementation of that core value?
I think you can always have your metrics. Are we increasing our underrepresented minority student body? Are we creating more opportunities? What's our female student body looking like? So I think you can have those metrics, but it just tells you kind of numbers. I think the true success comes from, are we hearing more people talk about it? Do people know that there's resources available? Are we seeing things happening on campus? So I think it's more of a feeling than the numbers. I think within our community, I mentioned we're kind of a rural community in the suburbs of the Twin Cities, but I feel like the community of River Falls is overall very welcoming. I think the college campus provides a different vibrancy and know that they're going to get different pockets of students coming into the community, and so I think that's where the real success is measured, when you hear less racial incidences, less bias happening. I think all college campuses are going to have that occasionally, but if you hear less of it and you hear more, students feel welcomed. They feel like they're a part of campus. I think that's when you can measure the success. You
can measure success, and I wouldn't discount, obviously quantitative, especially when you're being intentional about something. You want to know that there's something to it, and let's take that to the athletics level in terms of short-term evaluation, mid-term evaluation, and how you will evaluate it long-term. I imagine it'd be something similar to what you said about campus, but in athletics, there's probably a little more to it in terms of evaluation.
I think what we're looking for in athletics, yes, we certainly have the metrics, same as campus, but I think what we're looking for are our student athletes able to talk to each other openly about maybe some touchy subjects. Some of the workshops and forums that we've held are trying to create that opportunity. So let's put it out there. Let's introduce a topic that maybe is difficult to talk about. We've had presenters talk about racial issues. We've had presenters talk about transgender issues, things that maybe are a little uncomfortable for people to talk about, but they make the student athletes feel like it's okay to maybe not know all the answers, know the right thing to say, and it's really about starting the conversation. So for in athletics, we're really looking for our student athletes engaging with each other, and do they feel okay not knowing all the answers, but asking the right questions.
Right. And those tough conversations are important, right? And I'd imagine they don't always come from outside, right? Sometimes you guys are the ones having the tough conversations with each other, or even with student athletes. And that's important, right? In terms of internal conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. As we look to diversify our staff, so bringing in female coaches, bringing in people from other pockets, bringing in minorities, I think we're looking for that same type of thing. Are we okay having difficult conversations? I think it brings a new perspective into our office, and I think it just makes us better to have different opinions and different ideas, and new ideas don't need to be doing the same thing all the time.
And there's research on that actually can add to the success of organizations too. I guess I'll wrap here with this final question, and it's almost if you can give us a word of advice, right? You've been in this leadership role for a couple of years now, and it sounds like you're doing a number of things, winning awards. What is a word of advice on intentionality in terms of diversity, inclusion, inclusiveness? Do you have any word of advice for those in leadership roles now, or those who will be in leadership roles in the future?
I think it has to be specific to your institution. I think it's okay to pick up ideas, but you really have to take that idea and find out how it's going to work on your campus. Find out what the needs are on your campus, and then move forward in that regard. I think, thinking about what your resources are on campus. For us, we have a great partner with CDIBS. Finding other opportunities to create those things, but it was all internal. It was what is going to benefit our campus, maybe not copying what somebody else did. Take those ideas, make them specific to your university, what your needs are. I think that's where the success comes.
Crystal, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on Athletic Director U.
Well, thanks for having me.
That was Crystal Lanning. She's the Director of Athletics at University of Wisconsin at River Falls. And of course, the University of Wisconsin at River Falls was the recipient of the 2019 Award for Diversity and Inclusion from the NCAA and the Minority Opportunities Athletic Association. And this is Ty Brown with Athletic Director U. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today.